Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, happy St. Patrick's Day, if you celebrate that. I'm not thrilled with St. Patrick, to be honest with you. He was responsible for getting rid of a lot of the witches out of Ireland, supposedly. It's not true. Those of us who have families who practice the old craft just went underground. True witches were never caught. People with real magic weren't caught. There's people in the crossfires that try to do a little folk healing every now and again that got caught. Dark times, man. Part of the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga means dark ages. A little bit later in the second half, I'm actually going to go over the Yugas. It's extremely intensely, confusing, actually. Nonsensical, confusing. But I'm going to go over it anyway because everyone keeps mentioning. Suddenly the buzzword in the New Age community has been Kali Yuga this and Kali Yuga that, and the end of the Kali Yuga is in 4 days, so... yeah, I'm going to go over it in a little bit. This might be a confusing episode because of it, because it's, at least for me, super confusing. But today's a personal anniversary for me. My first child was born on March 9th, and premature kid, and it's weird. Premature babies tend to be smarter because they don't go through the clipping out process of their brains like most babies do. And my babies went anyway because I used Baby Plus with both of them. So both my kids are extremely intelligent. Thank you, God. If you want to know about Baby Plus, of course, go back to my spiritual parenting, my conscious spiritual parenting episode that I did. If you know anyone who's pregnant or who wants to be, that is imperative to have that information. You know, if you still want to make sure you have just an average baby. The hawk does not like that. Average baby is no. If you decide you want an average baby, you know, and take your chances, then ignore that episode. But now that you have the information, you might as well spend the hour learning about it, because I don't know, it's nicer to have kids that are super smart. I've been really grateful that my ex had come up with this information. It's really helped my kids in their life and helped them emotionally get through stuff faster than the average person. They can understand things that the average person doesn't. And I attribute it greatly to Baby Plus. I mean, their dad was intelligent. I'm intelligent. They're smarter than us. For sure. Like, I'm coming in at barely genius level. I mean, some tests I'm 5 points below genius. Sometimes I'm 5 points above. Sometimes I'm right on that line. My kids tested when they're young around, I don't know, like 175, 180. So... I don't know, check it out if you're interested in the Baby Plus. But today's the day that I brought my kid home from the hospital. He was in an incubator with jaundice, because that's what happens to premature kids. And he had a wonderful skin complexion because the yellowness of the jaundice gave him a really, looked like he had a suntan. And we played classical music for him, and he tapped his foot in perfect time, perfect tempo to the music when he was like only 2 days old. The nurses were like absolutely in shock over that. But Baby Plus, man, it works. My kid was musical from the moment he was born. Which is good, because I'm not musical at all. I'm not musical at all. All right, guys, I am feeling today just almost drunk on the light coming from the sun, the Schumann Resonance. The sun portal has been opened for like 8 weeks, and it's pouring down this light every few days. And the past 2 days have been incredible. And then it hits the earth, and then the Schumann energy is going up, and the Gaia earth energy spirit of the planet herself is also generating her own energy. So it's almost like it's coming to the base of the earth and bouncing back up and affecting us, where we're measuring the Schumann resonance. Or maybe it's just the earth. I don't even know where it comes from, to be honest. I'm just speculating. I've always ever just been speculating on this. I feel almost like I am drunk, and I'm not. All I had today was a couple cups of coffee and water. But the energy is so intense that it is affecting me, and I'm all floaty. I feel like I'm floating, like my pineal gland is active. I'm seeing stuff around me, energetic patterns in the environment that generally I wouldn't see. Having a lot of energy in the, like Kundalini is fully risen, and it's stuck up there above my 8th chakra right now, way the hell up there. So this might be a weird, strange, floaty episode, because I am coming at you from the level of super consciousness, from the level of my higher self. When you start vibrating super, super high and you're operating at that point, your consciousness approaches the speed of light. And that's where I'm coming from. So mentally, maybe not so much, but from a spiritual level, and I'm connected to that, yeah. So I'm going to tell you what the Schumann Resonance today peaks say. Yesterday was freaking incredible. So after 24 hours of complete and total whiteness on the scale, usually when you look at the Schumann Resonance, the scale itself on the website, it's like green, and then the spikes are white. It was a fully whited out, like the whole page was white. You couldn't see any green. It was just so intense, powerful white light coming directly from the sun, and then hitting the earth, and then measuring from the earth is where the Schumann resonance comes from. So, all right, as you know, it's 7.83 for thousands of years, and then suddenly we're way the hell up there. In the past 24 hours now, we are back at 85 hertz after 3.5 hours where the amplitude and the planet herself took a breath below 30 hertz. But now it's still total white. And then that's the first note for yesterday, or today, I mean. Then it goes to say, from the scientist, it is a massive period. Such huge activity did happen before, but there's a feeling that this time it's different. A lot of things suggest that we are in a phase of great changes, something that we are probably going to see all awakened or not. Since our last update at midnight, the average amplitude has been way above 100 hertz. The massive spike happened at 2 a.m. UTC time and reached 150 hertz, followed by 5 more spikes, 3 at 120 hertz, 2 at 110 hertz. Then it says, looks like that with a powerful 120 hertz peak at 12 UTC time, the impressive activity of the last 1.5 days is now ending. And then it says, as a final note for the 17th of March, 2019, a full 24 hours of total white. And now, as understandable, some rest before the next wave. We might see more of these in the near future while we get closer to the shift. Now, something to note that is important to know is that we actually had a 24-hour spiked period, and that was on the 17th of February, 1 month ago. I wanted to throw that out there because 17, you know? Same day, same number. You know, the universe looks chaotic, but there's a lot of math involved. A lot of numbers involved. You always say numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie, people do. And tired old dogs lie. I know. Or is that lay? Ugh. Like, we're at the end of the age. We're at the end times. I still have confusion over English grammar. All right. Yeah, what else? There was a couple other things I wanted to talk about, but I don't know. I mean, I've been connecting with my A chakra. A chakra is like 15 to 18 inches above your head, directly above your crown. I just feel very floaty. Not wanting to eat hardly at all. The thought of food makes me sick. Drinking a lot of water, just pulling in that energy, and I just keep doing my sun meditations. I wanted to mention real quick, I might go over it later, I'm not sure yet, but there's a couple different ways you can pull in the energy and light of the sun if you want to visualize it. First one is what I gave to you in that episode I did called The Sun, Our Solar Brother, Soular. I had a conversation with the sun, mentioned that a couple times this past week. So that's something, but the sun has since given me a couple other ideas or ways to pull in the light of the sun, because it's a little confusing to imagine that the sun is sitting on top of your head and then going out in a magnetosphere sort of pattern, and then the light is being pulled up through your feet and up through your spine and then back out in a spiral. I mean, not a spiral, a magnetosphere shape. Now, it might be a little hard to visualize. So another one is if you sit cross-legged on the floor or on a pillow or on your bed or on a chair. I'm not a very tall person, and most chairs are built for taller people. So I tend to sit like this in chairs, even in restaurants. You know, if there's a way like I could kind of hide my legs, I will like literally have them up on the chair with me. It's very strange, but just because I'm short and it hurts my back to not put my feet up. But it also helps me keep my spine straight, and keeping your spine straight is how you receive energy better. And anyway, my bones are vibrating right now. I'm talking about this stuff. I'm feeling this resonance, like the density of my bones is leaving my body right now. The density of the third dimensional flesh is leaving. Sounds weird. I know this sounds weird, guys. Anyway, if you imagine that you're sitting on a big ball of light, and that's the sun, and then you pull that up directly through your spine, and you can pull it up to the level of your heart and then burst it out of your chest in every direction like an explosion on a cosmic level, that will get rid of all the dross and all the negativity and all the density and all the fear. It just will push out everything. And then you keep it going up, up, up to your crown chakra and up through your 8th chakra. And then allow it to fall all around you like golden rain, golden white rain. That's another way. Another way you could do is just breathe the sun directly into your heart. Get rid of everyone else's negative energy that's hovering around you. You don't need it anymore. You don't need to take on people's crap anymore. We're beyond that. We're at the end. So just focus on yourself. Your vibratory patterns now, as you go up and as you go through this process and cycle, you will affect all the people around you. So don't worry. You're going to help raise other people up, even if you're not working on it consciously. Just work on yourself now. Just focus on gratitude. Just focus on love. Because everybody has a responsibility to themselves in the end, It's only you answering to God. You can't make up an excuse for your brother or your sister or your husband or your kids. It's everyone's responsibility. Right now, just work on yourself. Just worry about yourself. You can't go to hell for somebody else, so don't try. If someone else's energy is stuck in your energy field, your auric field, just kick it out and ask the light of the sun to protect you and shield you with light. The sun will not burn up anyone else's karma anymore. It's only going to burn up your own that you ask. So as you go through your systems, your energy systems, clear out your body, any energy in your body that's negative or dark, clear it out. Physical body, mental body, emotional body, spiritual body, etheric body, astral body, whatever you want to call that. And all your chakras and your spine. That's where you want to be. All right, so guys, I'm going to come right back and talk to you about the Yugas. This is going to be a confusing episode. Hopefully not. Hopefully, you get something out of it. I just am feeling the need to do this one today. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to talk about the Ascension Perspective, which is a book that might help you through this as well. I'm going to read you some important parts of the book for tomorrow. That's what I'm going to do for the show. It's time. It's just time to get all the information out there. So, anyway, right after these next message, depending on where in time you are feeling this, hearing this, you will, I don't know. Actually, you know what? I have to mention something else here before we get back, before we take a quick break. There's something that's been bugging me. So I've been hopping between timelines, like rapidly. Hopping between 2 or 3 timelines, like in a matter of seconds. How do I even explain this? I'll give you a really easy example. I was on Facebook Messenger, and my friend from Canada, Cheryl, who was on the show last week, she sent me a message. I received the message. When I went to click on the message disappeared. 2 minutes go by, and then she sent the same message. We were having the same conversation in 2 different timelines. Another example of this is I was playing my game. I like the game Design Home, where you get challenges, and they're in real time, and people around the world compete for, to see who gets 5 stars or not. If you get below 4 stars, you get nothing. If you get 4 stars or higher, you win a prize. So you get like a piece of furniture, in the game that you could place in other rooms in the future, right? Anyway, it's just designing like homes, whatever. So I was playing the game yesterday, and I had like my room done. It was a living room, and it was beautiful. And I was like, oh yeah, this is so good. I know I'm going to get a 5 on this. 5 stars is like the highest, and you get more rewards for getting the highest possible one. So I'm like, oh, I know I'm going to get, it's so beautiful. I did such a great job. I know I'm going to get close to 5, if not 5. I was like, yay. And the game shut down. My phone got hot. Had to wait for a minute. Come back to it. I had 23 minutes left. And I hadn't done anything in the room. And I'm like, well, it could be a glitch in the game. So, all right. I redid everything exactly the same. And then all of a sudden there was 5 minutes left. And it felt like maybe 10 minutes had passed. So don't know if I'm hopping between timelines at this point, or if I'm just out of my head and I'm not able to judge time very well, which very well may be the case. So anyway, as I'm playing my game, all of a sudden it switched from a living room scenario to a bedroom scenario with all the same exact decorations. And then switched from living room to bedroom to living room to bedroom to living room to bedroom. And I was like, and I felt while this was happening, I'm seeing this happen with my eyes. My body is like moving slightly to the right, slightly to the left, slightly to the right, slightly to the left. And I feel like timelines were converging in that moment. And I was like stuck in a time loop or a time anomaly. I think it's something we can expect more of as we're in the photon belt. We're getting deeper and deeper into the photon belt. There's going to be a lot of weird crap happening to us. And it was just like weird. And it was like after for like 5 or 10 minutes, I was just going back and forth on my game. Like it was, a living room with all the stuff I'd placed there, then a bedroom with nothing in it, then a living room with everything I placed there, and then a bedroom. And I'm like watching this, like my game is going crazy. And I know that they only have one room, like the actual app itself doesn't have 2 rooms randomly. I know that that's not true. And just other things, like things that I had watched on YouTube, suddenly I didn't watch on YouTube. Or when I'd watch a show on Netflix and suddenly it's not in my queue, for continue with the show. Suddenly it's not there. And it's like, I just watched it yesterday. Shows I didn't watch for like a month suddenly are showing up as if I just watched them like an hour ago. A lot of weird stuff with the electronics. Just really weird. Feeling like I just ate, but I haven't eaten. Not eating for 24 hours and not caring, not having any desire for food. The thought of food's making me kind of sick. Drinking water, that's the only thing I've been wanting. And then right now, I'm like craving a little bit like hot Jello. That's another weird thing. I've been craving for like a week, maybe 2 weeks now. I've been having hot Jello instead of tea. I'm just drinking gelatin. It's like my body needs that extra protein boost, the collagen. I don't know what's going on. Are you guys looking younger yet? Because that's another one. I go back and forth from looking like I'm gray and about to die to looking extremely healthy. That's another one. I don't know, guys. Ooh, it's just getting weirder and weirder. Upper back and neck pain in the spine is what a lot of people are going through. I noticed I was having that until I started to accept the light. And I say consciously, I accept this light. I accept the changes in my body and I accept the energy. And boom, the pain goes away immediately. Metal rods in my legs started to come out, started sticking through my skin. I mean, didn't pierce the skin, but that was kind of creepy. I'm wondering what's going to happen. I found a lady talking about this stuff. I'm going to talk about it in the next hour, or in the next part of the show for tonight, what she said. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's getting weirder and weirder, guys. I've been having pains in my chest as if I'm going to have a heart attack, and 1 second later, I'm totally fine. I have pains in my lungs like I can't breathe, and all of a sudden, I'm totally fine. I feel good, though. Overall, I feel good. I feel amazing. I'm identifying with the super consciousness energy more so than the body. Having memory glitches. I'm remembering stuff from other timelines that don't exist on this one. And that's driving me crazy. I would say about 10 years ago, I was out of all the people that knew me, everyone would have said that I had the best memory out of everybody. So it's really hard to go through this. Where you're just like, your memory's wiped out. It's very weird. Anyway, guys, I'm going to come right back after this break. Like I said, it might be a couple commercials if you listen to this in the future. But if you're listening to this in March of 2019, there's only one little commercial, and then we'll come right back. All right. Here we go. Hey you, have you ever thought about having your own podcast like me? Was it even a New Year's resolution? For me, it sure was. But as I've been looking into this for months, I was daunted. There's so many questions I had. When I was trying to get this off the ground, I was wondering, How do I record the episode? How do I get it across all the platforms? How do I get my podcast on Apple Podcasts when I don't even have an iPhone? How do I get it onto Spotify and all the other places? How do I get people to listen? And how do I make money from my podcast? How do I edit it? Oh my God, I had all these questions and I was so confused until I discovered the simple answer is Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and it is ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. All you need to do is record it. You don't have to go out and look for people to advertise on your show. They help you. So basically what I like about podcasting is I don't have to have a video of myself. You don't know if my hair is dirty or if I'm still in my pajamas or even if I'm wearing makeup. Haha. And it's so easy. I could do this from the comfort of my own home in my living room using this amazing app right from my cell phone. So easy, right? So if you've always wanted to start your own podcast and make money, by the way, doing it, please go to anchor.fm/start. That is anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters that are already using Anchor. Again, that's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast, and I can't wait to favorite you. Woohoo! Let's be broadcast podcast buddies. I'll see you there. All right, guys, I spent all night long trying to understand the cycles, the massive Hindu system of cosmology. And to be honest, it's just a bunch of jumbled up gobbledygook from what I can see. It makes no frickin' sense. Everybody in India is arguing with everybody else in India over what Yuga we're even in, what's happening actually at all. When does it start? When does it end? Is it because so-and-so was born on this one year, so that's when the age started? It seems to me like a bunch of crap, just to be honest with you. But my higher guidance said to do it, so I'm going to do a show on the Yugas. None of it makes any freaking sense to me. And maybe at the end of this episode, we're just going to say, psst, whatever. It doesn't matter anyway, grand scheme of things. Schematic's over, soon. Regardless of whether this philosophy or system of cosmology is real or not. It's all over, folks, anyway. That's the way I look at it. I'm really frustrated, to be honest. This is so frustrating. But we're going to attempt to get through this one. I mean, you could go to 100 different supposed scholars on the issues, websites, YouTube channels, documentaries from the BBC, or whatever, and every frickin' person is going to give you a different answer because it's just that flipping confusing. I spent 8 hours on this yesterday and like 2 or 3 today. And I am no clearer on it than I was 3 days ago. But I'm going to try. It's really hard because I'm having memories of having read a book that now does not exist on this timeline. So I can't even go buy the book on Amazon. I can't even go and download it real quick because it doesn't even exist now. And this was a book that sparked my mind in a way that I remembered it. I remember it. I'm remembering crap from other timelines that don't exist here. Seriously, why do we have to take the red pill? Couldn't we have just been happy taking the blue pill and not knowing anything? Grrr. Anyway. I don't know. I mean, things like the Jurassic period and the Pleistocene era, the Cambrian era, that kind of stuff makes more sense to me. Geological time. The Hindu time cosmology system of time scale, which is freaking massive, it makes no sense because, first of all, you have what is called human years. Then you have what's called deity or God years. Then you have what's called karmic years, where you can somehow collapse your amount of human years on your own personal Yuga cycle, your own age cycle. If you just meditate, you could collapse your own time frames and get out of here faster. Get off. If you know, the goal is to jump off the karmic wheel of birth and death and birth and death and birth and death and birth and death. We want to get out of the reincarnation cycle is the point. That is what all the yogis have been there for, to teach us how to do. And that's what we want to get. So just like we have winter, spring, summer, and fall in 1 year, calendar year, in the Muslim, why am I saying Muslim? I'm lying, not Muslim. Hindu tradition, sorry. In the Hindu tradition, these 4 yugas or 4 ages are in combination with each other. 4.32 million years. Human years. I'm not even going to get into the other 2 arguments of, well, yeah, but there's God years and yeah, but there's karma years. It's so confusing. So anyway, the 4 cycles, the 4 yugas are, or 4 ages are 4.32 million years. And you'd think that would mean that they're all equal. But no, because again, that makes no damn sense either. It's just not equal. It makes sense it would be, but it's not. The first yuga, on some places that you go on the internet to research, will say it's just the Satya Yuga. Some places call it the Krita Yuga. Some places call it the Satya Krita Yuga. Scholars cannot even agree amongst themselves. There must be so much infighting over this in India. There's probably half the arguments are about this. We're going to attempt to understand parts of it anyway. Basically, I have seen on one place it was 1.69 million years, and one place it was 1.72 million years for the first age. So close to 2 million years is the first yuga, and it's called the Satya or Satya Krita Yuga. During this time, this is what it says, and I know this is going to sound completely insane. I think that there's a lot of blue mushrooms in India, and I think a lot of people have been taking them who wrote these books and talked about that. I'm sorry, I'm just really very frustrated with the lack of cohesiveness in the information. As a Virgo, this stuff has really been, well, just bugging me. Hawking me off, as my mother used to say. I don't even know what that means, but it's hilarious. All right, in the Satya Yuga, the very first section of time, everything was all about truth and perfection. Everything was perfect. Everyone was happy. Everyone was perfect with each other, and there was perfect weather. There was no religion, no deception, no disease, and fear did not exist. There was 0% crime in the world and 100% kindness. I think that's like the top of the wheel or something. The golden era. And then we, at that time, apparently we lived to be 10,000 years old. And we were 31 feet tall. I will go over the findings of Mud Fossil University and the giants that did live on Earth. Because there is absolute scientific evidence for it now. So we did have a time in which giants roamed the Earth, and it is 100% real. Way too much info to get into right now. So anyway, the first era, we lived to be 10,000 years old. We were 31 feet tall. Sounds like a bad acid trip, but okay. And that was 1.72 million years long. Well, the second era is called the Treta Yuga, and it was only 1.2 million years long in human years. And this is when the rise of the emperors started in kingdoms, and they started carving up the land a little bit, and wars started towards the end of that era, because now that you carved up the land, everyone's jealous about everyone else's land and stuff, and that's when ocean and deserts were formed. And then at that point, humans dropped down to 21 feet tall, and we only lived 1,000 years instead of 10,000 years. Then in the third Yuga, the now this is the other thing, it's called Dwapara and also Dvapara Yuga, depending on which website you go to. Yet again, here it is, where it's just, they can't even spell the Yuga right, let alone, or agree on what the name of it is. Just, the whole thing is crazy to me. Anyway, the third Yuga is only 864,000 years old. And diseases become more rampant. People are growing more discontented. 50% crime, or the people are criminals, I guess, which means there's only 50% kindness in the world at the beginning of this one. The average age of humans drops down to 100 or hundreds of years only. And people drop down in stature physically to only 10 feet tall. Now, in the fourth cycle, it's half that, and it's only 432,000 years. But then on one website, I read that it was only 6,000 years. Then on another website, I read it was 4,800 years. So is it less than 5,000 years or almost 500,000 years? It makes no damn sense. I don't know. Is smoking crack a dinner ritual, among these people who can't agree? I'm seriously, there's like hundreds of websites, and they're all totally different. Between the names, between the spelling, between how many years, between the difference between a daily year, a human year, I don't even know what's going on. I'm hoping that some kind of insight comes through all this, though. All right, so in the Kali Yuga, it is where we are now, and we're at the end of the Kali Yuga. It's supposedly 432,000 human years, but then someone said in one of their websites that it started when some dude who wrote the Mahabharata was born 3,000 years before the Common Era, so 5,000 years ago, now at the end. So suddenly, according to this one guy, it's only 5,000 years long, but according to the other scholars, it's 432,000 years old. But there's that number again, though, 432, 4.32 million years, and now 432,000 years. In the Kali Yuga, it's full of darkness and ignorance. Everybody's a sinner. Everybody lacks virtue. Towards the end of the Kali Yuga, the average age becomes 20 years old, and we drop down to a whopping 5.25 feet tall. Yeah, it's about right. I'm even shorter than that. I'm 5 even and a half inch. We are slave to our passions. We lust for each other, and we have random sex. We don't, as a whole of humanity, we don't really value each other or human life or ourselves, and there's a lack of general respect, a lot of fear. People are now hypocrites and they're eating forbidden and dirty food. We're now eating animals, where in the first 3 ages we weren't. I guess the end of the last age, people started to eat food that was from animals. But, I mean, this is like the system. And the thing is, at the end of these 4 ages, I keep trying to ask what... I've asked Bing, I've looked on YouTube, I've looked on Google, I've asked different websites. I've like done the search for what comes after the Kali Yuga, and they just say this is the end of the cycle. It's just the end of the cycle. I'm like, well, that's good, because if we are at the end of the Kali Yuga at the average age of 20 years old and 5 feet tall, what does that mean? At the next cycle, at the end, we're going to only be 10 years old when we die and 2 feet tall? The whole thing is freaking ridiculous to me. It seems really ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm just very, very critical of this random, wild, crazy system. The Mayan cosmology calendar made more sense to me. And I probably on Throwback Thursday at some point, I'll start, if I could find all 3 of the interviews. I interviewed a man who talked to me about the cosmological cycles and the Mayan calendar, and he is Mayan. He is an original Mayan. He grew up reading the hieroglyphs, and he got a PhD in archaeology. Douglas Quinones. So I'll probably at some point put, if I could find all 3 of his interviews. It was such a long interview with him that I literally had to break it up into 3 shows. I'm going to try to locate it. Probably for April or May, or possibly May. All right, so anyway, I was looking at all of these things online, and none of it makes any sense to me. Obviously, I keep saying that. But I got interested in this idea. I got intrigued by it first when I read a book that exists on another timeline now, written by Swami Sri Yukteswarji and prefaced by Paramahansa Yogananda of Self-Realization Fellowship fame, where Guruji said that when he talked to Swami Sri Yukteswar about the ages and about various things, he was intrigued because what do we do at the end of an age? So we start at the golden age and drop all the way down to the iron age. It's like, it seems like human evolution would be what's taking place, not human devolution, de-evolution. So like God would create it where everyone's perfect and wonderful and great and everything's great and golden, and then just drop us down to freaking nothing until we're just basically animals living in our own filth and we're little and short and consciousness is stupid. That makes no damn sense. None of this, it just seems back-asswards to me. It just, why is this even a thing? And I don't know why. Is it a mirrored reflection of reality? Is it really that we went from nothing? We came up from the tide pools and the cesspools, the mud pits, and we moved on up. We're moving on up. I think that's more likely. Is this just a mirrored reflection? And it's so confusing and so filled with illusion. I don't know. It's delusion. It's delusional. It's delusional. It's confusional. It's just a big fat illusional. That's all it is. So I don't know. I don't know. I met a man named Yogi Shanti. He was on the radio in Chico, and he was interviewed on the radio, and I looked him up, and then I found him on another radio show. So he was going across the country, the United States, being interviewed. And he was a yogi, true yogi master. And he was very interesting. So I wrote him an email thinking, in a million years, I'm never going to hear back from the guy. And 24 hours later, I get a phone call from him. And he said, I'm going to be at the hot springs, but I want you to come to my friend's house. I want to spend time with you. I feel your energy from here. So I brought my little baby, my first child, when she was still a little baby. She was about 2 years old. Maybe 1.5, actually. And so my husband and I went up there. We went immediately up to Reading to visit this yogi, a practitioner of yoga, Kriya Yoga, which is the royal or Raja Yoga, the royal road, the one that gets you to enlightenment, not the one that puts you in good physical condition. Although he wasn't in bad physical condition, it's just that his focus was on God and not on physical bodies yoga. So yoga means union with God. So not to be confused with Yuga, which means age. Yoga means union. So we went to Shasta, and we went to my, we went to this lady's house. She became my friend for a while. If it wasn't for her, honestly, I never would have heard about SE5 or radionics, and I'm going to do a show on that eventually. It's similar to Rife frequencies, but it's sending it to someone. It's kind of like Reiki meeting Rife frequencies. It's a really strange technology, very controversial. Anyway, we went and we sat with Yogi Shanti and talked to him for a while. And my little baby girl came and crawled and sat up in his lap like he was grandpa. And they meditated together. He said, let's meditate. Let's focus on God. So we did. We all sat together and meditated. And my little girl was like, oh, I'm going to climb into grandpa's lap. And she had her spine was perfectly straight and held her hands together in perfect prayer position. And he was really shocked. He goes, your mudras. And she just was like, yeah, of course. And her middle name is Shanti. I named her Shanti. So they had that connection. Shanti means peace in Hindu. I named her that because I used to go to Self-Realization Fellowship Temple in Los Angeles. And at the end of every prayer or song, they would sing Shanti, 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 Om. And Shanti means peace. And I wanted my child to always know peace. So I named her middle name Peace. That's not his name now because he's a he. But that was the original name, Peace. I said, if ever you need to feel peace, chant your middle name. It's a little secret, You'll always have peace with you. Or quickly you will, So we're with Yogi Shanti Swaroop. And we meditated, and then later on we went to the hot springs. He insisted that we purify our bodies. And when I went to the hot springs with him, and we had there was individual bathtubs inside private rooms, and everyone had their own room. And when I was in his presence, I lost 20 pounds in 2 days as a result of having gone there. Very weird. Because the following year I went there when he wasn't there, and I don't even think I lost 1 pound. I was so disappointed. It might have just been water weight. I don't know. It was after I'd given, I'd had my kid, and I was still kind of overweight from that. But my child was less than 2 years old, so I don't know. Very weird stuff. But what Yogi Shanti had told me is that he came here with the very specific purpose of distributing peace in the world. And he even started an organization in Denver, Colorado. And people would fund him, like give him money, and that would be his money he used for traveling and eating. And that's another weird thing, actually, this guy didn't eat, ever. I think he was a saint, minimally. He might have been a master, I'm not sure. But I never saw him eat. And I brought it up to the lady of the house, and she said, you know what? That's weird you'd mention it, because he keeps making us food and making us tea, and all he does is drink tea and water, and he does not eat. And I haven't seen him eat. And, he's been here a week, and I have never seen him eat. So it was very weird. Very strange. I mean, his teeth were bad. He had all kinds of bad teeth. His teeth were rotten. Just really bad. Dental systems in India aren't very good, apparently, and that's a problem in India. Maybe it's just something in the water that makes the teeth bad. I don't know. The Indian food diet is actually very healthy, though, so I don't know. I mean, it might just be that he was poor, or he was kind of a renunciant. He didn't really own anything. He didn't want anything. In fact, when we were there at the hot springs, I wanted to give him back something. I wanted to give him a gift back, And I found a little worry stone, they call it, and it's just inside of, it's like an acrylic sort of rock, and inside there was an angel, and they called it a worry stone. You could just rub your thumb on it when you worry, and then you could get rid of your worries. But I didn't think he needed that, because he wasn't a kind of person who would worry or fret over anything, because he had God consciousness 100%. And ironically, this is right after I met, or right after I had my kid was not even 1 year old. I don't think, actually now looking back, because this is right after I had my Kundalini awakening. So if you go back to my episode on Kundalini, actually my kid wasn't she was just so sophisticated at that time. I remember her being older, but she was about 7, 8, 9 months maybe when we met him. I think it was in May or something, maybe a little bit over a year old, possibly. Anyway, it might have been April, I don't know. But anyway, it was pretty interesting experience just hanging out with this person, He always would tell us to keep our spine straight, always remember God. He's always mentioning it. If he saw we were thinking about other stuff or started to worry, he would think about God. I found this angel worry stone, and he goes, oh, it's really wonderful, thank you, I love it. And he hugged me, and he kissed my cheek, and then he held it in his hand, and he revered it, and he loved it, and he cherished it, and he held it to his heart. He took the energy of it in, and the spirit in which I gave the gift in. He hugged me again, and then he turned around and handed it to my friend. He said, I got a gift for you. At the time, it really hurt my feelings. I'm like, but I just spent $7 on this thing, and you had it for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I go, no, it's yours. I gave it to you. And he goes, when I gave it, and I gave it to her. And he just kind of looked me in the eyes, and he didn't say anything, and I didn't hear his telepathy, but I knew, like a boom, like a packet of information dropped into my brain, and this is what he told me in that packet of energy. He said, does it matter how long anybody owns anything at all? Is it not the thought that counts? Is it not the spirit in which you gave it? Is it not the love and the energy and the feeling of having given this? And why wouldn't you want to pass that along to other people? She will understand, and eventually she'll give it away to somebody else. And it will go on and on and on that way. And that is the way of the world. That is the way of all the things, the material objects, because material objects mean nothing. So when he looked me in the eyes, and I felt all that, and I saw it, and I knew it in a heartbeat. And he smiled and touched my forehead. My kundalini rose again instantly. And he looked me again in the eyes, and he said, that's where you need to be. During the course of that day, I asked him, what does it feel like when your kundalini rose? And he said, everyone is different. Every experience is different. It's always going to be ever fresh and ever new. And it will never be an old feeling. It will never be something that happens and you go, well, whatever, boring, it happened already, like that. Because every single time you are ever fresh and ever new. Because God is always reinventing himself in every second. I thought that was interesting. It was hilarious too. We're like, walking around this place, and he just was so much of a renunciate, and he didn't care so much at all about anything. He didn't care about modesty. He didn't care about anything. He was like walking around naked, and they had to keep telling him to put his clothes on. Here, we gave you a towel, Yogi. He goes, yeah, but someone else might want it. And they're like, keep the towel around you, please. Their family's here, you know. He's like walking down the hall, this little old man, this little old yogi man, laughing and joking with people. He was a Heyoka shaman, but he didn't know he was. He didn't call himself that, and he didn't identify as that. But looking back now, the way he laughed all the time and joked around and showed his butt walking around, made people laugh. He was a Heyoka, doing inappropriate things to make people laugh. That's what Heyoka does. So when I was back at this lady's house, she handed me an informational paper about Yogi Shanti with some information about him. She said, this is what I found on the internet that someone had written about him. Well, on that paper, it said that Yogi Shanti was told by his spiritual master that he is to enter soon into a state of ascended animated suspension into an ascended state of mind, to the point at which eventually he will, his body will ascend, and he's going to go there ahead of us. And in 25 to 50 years, whenever humanity can catch up, some of us will find him there. And eventually, when he does die, he's going to go to another loka or another planet. But when he started his state of samadhi, or his state of, I guess in Buddhism you'd call it nirvana, basically that would be the signifying of the end of the Kali Yuga that's coming. The end of it is coming, and we will begin to enter a golden age. And in order for us to do that, he was somehow important. Like he was establishing one of the first pillars of the ascension. I didn't know what to make of it. When I read this paper, I'm like, I don't know. What does this even mean? But while I was in his presence, I did feel that he was definitely a saint, if not a master, but I'm pretty sure he was a master. And he told me, I am going to bless you, and you will know ascension in your lifetime. Everybody who does not choose to die consciously will ascend. You will know God in your lifetime if I bless you. But I only bless the people that ask me. And I asked him, and we asked him. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of all this, but it's interesting enough to make a show on. He talked to humanity repeatedly. He was invited many, many times to speak before the United Nations. And he talked about the golden age of enlightenment that is coming, that we will enter the golden age of enlightenment, and it will last for 10,000 years. But we will all ascend, and the world and the earth will be perfect, and it'll be filled with light and filled with love, and we'll no longer have war, poverty, or crime. We'll no longer have fear. We are entering the golden age of enlightenment. I believe it's starting this week at the end of the Kali Yuga, which is in 4 days, according to many, many, many people in the New Age movement right now, in the New Thought movement. All the spiritual teachers, light workers, light warriors, everyone is feeling it. I'm feeling it. It's what my higher guidance says. Spring equinox is going to become our springboard to the golden age. Yogi Shanti came around about a year or 2 later and came back to Chico after traveling to India and all over the world, went to Germany, talked before the United Nations more, spent some time in Denver. He came back to Chico, and I saw him one more time, and he said, "This is the time I had to come to tell you that I love you, my friend. I hope to see you later in another dimension, but this will be the last time I see you." Which made me cry. It was very heartfelt. He said, I'm glad you came to see me, my friend. And he held my child one more time on his lap like he was grandpa. And we had a good meditation together. We had a good cry together. A few months later, he stopped writing me back on the email. So I know that he's ascended already. And he ascended almost 20 years ago. About 18 years ago. He said within 25 years of his ascension, the world will ascend. So we're still in that timeline. We might have done it a little early. Or maybe we just did it in the nick of time, I don't know. Or maybe we've hopped timelines again. It's all very nebulous, isn't it? If you're a hardcore scientist, this stuff is really hard. This is like the bitterest pill to swallow because it's so crazy. I'm sure the people that are measuring the Schumann Resonance right now are kind of freaking out a little bit. What's happening to our world? Magnetosphere, the North Pole, all the plasma, solar bursts from the sun, and now this. The last major solar blast came a couple thousand years ago. And scientists have discovered, I just saw little videos, like a 2-minute video on it, so I don't have a lot of information, but scientists had somehow discovered that there was evidence of a massive radiation that went through the whole Earth. A couple thousand years ago, and it didn't matter because we didn't have electronics, so it didn't really affect humanity all that much, but they think that it's going to happen again really soon. They're speculating now. NASA scientists are speculating about this. I'm speculating it's going to be in the next 4 days, 5 days, up to 2 weeks, but it's going to happen soon. Yogi Shanti named me Aruna. He said it means bright morning sun, and that's what I remind him of because of my smile and my red hair. And just when I smile, he said I lit up the room like a sun. He made me cry when he told me that. It was one of the sweetest things ever. I said I know, and I've heard that when you go to India, you get an Indian name. What name would you give me if you could? And that's what he said. He would give me Aruna. He gave my husband the name Arjuna because he was so skeptical and had a hard time believing in stuff, but he was still striving to learn about God. And then he gave my kid the name Nothing. He says, I can't give her anything. She's already Shanti like me, and she'll always have a connection to me. We will always be living in peace and harmony together and always have that mental connection of peace. He's like, she's already Hindu. It doesn't matter. So, I don't know. So, Aruna, that was my name for a while. Some people were calling me Aruna for a while. It was very close to Elena. Very weird. But Yogi Shanti did say that we're going to enter the golden age of man. I've heard this for many, many years, like 30, 40 years. Well, 30 years. I've been hearing this from the Jehovah Witnesses of all weird places to hear this from. That we will be entering a golden age of man. Why do they have this in their belief system? I don't know. But it's similar to the Hindu vision. If I look at the wheel of life and it's turning and it starts at the top and then goes to the bottom, or starts on the horizon and goes around and the wheel's turning. And we're at the very end of the darkest times. Now we're going to go jump off that wheel of karma, jump off the wheel of birth and death, and then we're jumping into the light. Maybe that's the biggest takeaway, but Swami Sri Yukteswar wrote in this book that doesn't even exist on this timeline. But what I remember distinctively that he said 26,000 years will be people jump off, but then maybe it was 1.2 or 1.72 million years. Maybe it's 26,000 God years. I don't know. It's also very confusing. But basically the gist of it is, if you are so unenlightened at the end of this and you don't strive to meet God and you're not going to go into the golden age, you're not even going to have a chance or an opportunity, not even a little bit. You're going to be stuck on this path of darkness, mental darkness, spiritual darkness, and it's just going to continue on for 26,000 years or whatever, or 5 years or 5 million years. Who the hell knows? But the point is, you're not going to be able to even get there. In the Quran, it says that those that have eyes to see and ears to hear will be at one with the word of God and at one with God, but the people that are ignorant will remain so and get worse. That you have to strive spiritually and you have to grow spiritually. You have to learn and grow and always remember God. Always go up, up, up. If you are presented with the information and you reject it, you're just going to go down, down, down in consciousness. Another thing that I had read I think in the same book, was that when someone is super, super bad and their consciousness is so low that they're hurting so many people, and that's all they do, and all their actions are negative and bad, the worst men on the planet become mountains, and they crumble slowly over millennia, over millions of years. They crumble off. Pieces of the mountain crumble off and turn into dirt and dust. And eventually that feeds the plant, and eventually their consciousness goes into the plant. And if they're lucky, the plant gets consumed by an animal and their consciousness can go into an animal. And if they're lucky, their consciousness eventually gets consumed by humans, I guess. But then why does it say that we're unenlightened if we're eating animals? Which does make sense, that part. I don't know. There's a lot of strangeness and contradictions, not just in Hindu stuff, but all over the world in random things. Jesus said something, I'm trying to remember what it is, a quote in the Bible about something about when you have a lot, you will gain more, but when you have very little, even that will be taken away from you. I don't know why he said that, or even if he did say that. To be honest, it might have been a misquote that just played telephone and 250,000 versions of the Bible later. It's completely nonsensical now. maybe the biggest takeaway, I'm trying to come up with what is the biggest takeaway from all this information. You know, and I was talking yesterday about how we were this one makes more sense to me than anything. We were a matriarchal society, and then we were a patriarchal society. And now we're going to enter the golden age in which we are with the mother and father divinity. But we're not worshiping anymore. We are that. We know we are that. And Yogi Shanti did talk about that. Well, we are going to know the mother God and the father God within us. We become our own gods. And we don't need war. We don't need competition or fear anymore. We just can sit, relax, enjoy the sunshine on our faces, enjoy the love in our hearts. Animals will get along again. No one will be attacked. We won't need to eat animals anymore. Probably going to just eat light from the sun. I don't know. When I was a kid, when I was 3 years old, my mom would catch me in the living room, and there'd be like light rays coming through the light rays from the sun would be coming in through the window, streaming in, and then there'd be dust particles that you could see in the light rays, and I would catch them on my tongue like snowflakes. And my mom used to say, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "It's nutrition from the sun." It's probably why I have horrible allergies. You know, I just eat dust, right? But that's what I thought it was. I truly felt like I was eating the packets and particles of light. I think that my pineal gland was very active when I was a baby, when I was 2 and 3 years old. And I would be eating the nutrition from the sun, and I would stick my tongue in the light ray and then try to catch the dust particles, because I thought that was like, you know, like the bread that went along with it somehow. I was an only child for a long time. I did a lot of weird things. And that was one of the things I was nutrition from the sun. Stick my tongue out, the sun's going to light my tongue, and then I don't need to eat. And like actual food. Now that I'm grown up, yeah, that sounds crazy, but now I'm not eating very much these days, once or twice a day. Every 3 or 4 days, I'll eat like a huge meal. My sleep patterns are really weird. I'm only sleeping every other day now. I don't know, guys. We're changing. We're evolving and growing, and we're going into the golden age and the end of the age or cycle, you know. And in other books that are unrelated to anything Hindu or anything from India, I have read in a lot of books that this literally just is the end. We are literally at the end of the schematic. I've read it in, I think it was Conversations with God or one of those related books where it talked about it a little bit. I read about it in Sylvia Browne's work before she passed on, God rest her soul. A lot of things point to it, don't they? The bees are dying off. That's how we pollinate everything, you know. It's how we have fruits and vegetables. But maybe it's okay because the third dimension is breaking up, and we don't need 3-dimensional bodies anymore. We're raising up into 5th dimension. We will just be eating light. Light is information. Light is a particle and a wave. And it's possibly nutrition, right? Like we're plants. Maybe we're just gonna be like plants. Nutrition from the sun. We're photons. We're the photoelectric effect, we're just pulling in the energy and the electricity and the magnetosphere. I don't know, the magnetism of the sun. Seems to me like there's a magnetism there. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just talking like a man with a paper butt. I don't know. All I do know, though, is that we are on our way. We are well on our way. I feel it, and every day it's more and more strong. I know that maybe 15, 20 years ago, if I skipped a meal, I would be like so low in energy. Like I need to eat. I know that now I I don't need to eat. I could get up and not, like if I don't eat for 24 hours, I could still dance. I could go clean my house. I'm now having tons of energy. It's been like this for weeks. So I don't know. Something's happening. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. But that's what we're going through. We are going through the ascension, guys. And regardless of all the philosophies and the scholars arguing with each other, in spite of all that, it was going to happen anyway. It's history. It's the evolution. We're the only ones in this universe who have done it like this. I don't know. Anyway, I don't really have much more to say about it. This is a very weird episode. I know that it's a weird episode. But I wanted to tell you guys about Yogi Shanti. I've been wanting to bring him up for a long time. And I'm hoping that we will rise up and go into the fifth dimension and go, oh my God, Yogi Shanti, he's there waiting at the gates. There to greet us with his amazing Indian food and awesome chai. His tea was amazing. And his toothless grin and his beautiful energy with his Heyoka ways. And he's not the only one. I know all the other spiritual masters, they've all risen up and they're all there waiting for us. I just know it. I feel it. In my dreams, I've gone up there and I've danced. I danced with Paramahansa Yogananda and we were laughing. Oh my God. He had a party and we were laughing and laughing and laughing. And he said, pretty soon you're going to be able to live up here with me, full time. You have to go back down to the 3D for a while, but eventually we're all going to be together. And I think that's true. I really believe it's true. Hope it's true. The Schumann Resonance is going crazy. I saw a video of a lady. She said that I'm going to try to put it up on my Twitter feed, actually. In fact, when I am done recording this, I'm going to put this on my Twitter feed. I want you guys to go to my Twitter account. It's at mermaidgirl888. The number's 888. So mermaidgirl888 is my Twitter. Go add me on Twitter, follow me, and then you can see this that I'm getting ready to put up. This video is, this lady is talking about all of the symptoms and all the signs and all the things that are going to happen to us when we get bombarded by this light. It's going to be so much radiation that it is going to literally clear away out all of the dross from our bodies, from our emotional bodies, our mental bodies, our physical bodies, and all the people that are unenlightened are simply just going to be washed away with the light. The earth and planet itself, all of the dark crevices that harbor negative fear energy will be gone. My job as a light worker has been over the past 2 years in South America just to go all over and release some of the denser forms, release the ghosts, release the people that were trapped between the worlds, and to release a lot of the density and the negativity of the Spanish conquistadors and the negativity of the land. Stop the land confusion. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know other people have talked about this too. So all of us light workers and light warriors have gone around the world just trying to undo the density that was there. Michelle Small Wright talks about this. She had to undo all the density of the Civil War. She couldn't grow one vegetable on her land, and she's like, well, this is never going to do. She bought this huge acreage and nothing would grow. So she started meditating, and the nature spirits told her to grab up all the negative energy from the war and release it. And as soon as she did, she now has a beautiful, lush, amazing garden called the Paralandra Garden. I believe it's called the Paralandra Workshop or something. It's the name of one of her books. Releasing the density of the earth. And now that a lot of us light workers have released a lot of it, We've kind of loosened the lid on the jar, so to speak. Now the universe is going to blow the lid right off. Blow the roof off the sucker. So to speak. Tear the roof off the sucker. Like Funkadelic would say. Like George Clinton would say. Not to be confused with Bill, who only plays the sax. But with George Clinton, Funkadelic, Parliament. It is good. This light is going to penetrate, and it's not going to just be like one side of the planet, but the whole planet, every molecule, every atom, every part of everything is going to be filled with light, and this is supposed to be coming up in 4 days. Maybe it's going to start, maybe it's going to end, I don't know. That's what people say, though. We'll see. Might take another 20 years, might take 5. Might take 5 weeks or 5 days. Hell, it might take 5 seconds. I don't even know. Nobody knows. We've never done this before. We're co-creating this as a collective whole. But I say, let's just get it done. Let's do away with fear. We don't need duality or polarity. We don't need the love-fear thing anymore. We just need love. So when we get rid of the duality, all the negative stuff's gone. Now we're fine. We're going to be up there with beauty, love, joy. And speaking of that, I'm going to go. That's all I got to say about that. But I'm signing off with peace and love and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Until next time, guys. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.